certainly good to feel like game week's here, and I know the players are excited, and we as a staff are certainly excited, and you know, for the game, but also just for the week of preparation. And you know, I thought we had a good camp overall, but now it's time to transition, and when you start talking about an opponent, especially one, you know, that we've got, I think, staff and certainly our players have a lot of respect for Florida State. We're excited for this week to begin.
Defensively, where do you feel you are coming out of camp, and what kinds of things do you have to do to make Winston uncomfortable next week?
Well, I think you know, where we're at, I think that we've, you know, found some depth. I think you know, we certainly had a lot of players on defense that we felt good about, and feel like, you know, really through spring ball had a good summer, and fall camp, you know, I think that, you know, some of those good players have gotten better. You know, I think that, you know, we've had the emergence of some other guys. I think we have, you know, some roles for them so that we can, you know, hopefully play a lot of guys, or we'd like to play, you know, a number of different guys. You know, certainly, you know, anytime you can make a quarterback uncomfortable, and that's the goal. You know, if you go to every press conference probably across the country, you know, if the defense wants to make the opposing quarterback uncomfortable. You know, I'm sure it's no different than, you know, Florida State wanting to make Tommy uncomfortable, and you know, it comes a number of different ways. You know, certainly, I think, you know, key to all football is if you can stop the run. You know, if you can do a good job of stopping the run, and then it's, you know, how do you get pressure, you know, on a quarterback? Can you get it with, you know, 4 rushers, or do you have to bring pressure? And you know, anytime you do that, obviously you're going to put a little bit more on your secondary. So, you know, that's, you know, all football. You got to try to find a way to make the quarterback uncomfortable, and this game certainly looked different.
On this defense, what's the value of having somebody like Aaron Donald back, and what does he himself have to do to make this defense a good defense?
Well, I mean, you know, I don't know if I could put a value on, you know, having Aaron. It's very important to us, you know, and anybody like that, you know, obviously he's a good player, but he's also, you know, one of our leaders. You know, Aaron has to, in every senior, you know, he's no different. You know, I think their senior year, you should play the best football of your career, you know, and I think we'll be challenged. I think that's, you know, one of the strengths of Florida State certainly is their offensive line. You know, and most football games you play in, you know, who controls the line of scrimmage is, you know, that team has an advantage. So, you know, Aaron's one of our leaders, one of our better players, and you know, if we're going to be successful, he's going to play well.
What's your expectation at this point for Isaac Bennett? Do you expect him to play next Monday, or is it still in the air?
You know, did some stuff yesterday in practice. We'll find out. Obviously, missed some, you know, quite a bit of time. You know, so we're still a little bit too early to tell. But was able to go through some things yesterday. You know, we'll see how he comes back today with it. But certainly was able to do some things, which was good. You know, more than he's done before.
Paul, when you know, they have such a quick team. I mean, how do you, when you have players that just aren't quite as fast as somebody you're playing, what do you do to try to, you know, simulate that in practice to get them prepared? I mean, is there any shortcuts you can take? I mean, how do you try to speed things up for your guys?
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think, you know, that is one of the bigger challenges. You know, you can't, it's like size. How do you simulate size? You know, you really can't. How do you simulate speed? Now, I think, you know, we've got some guys that we feel like can run pretty well, and I think you're always best. And there's a balance to it, but, you know, you've got to, the speed of the game is the one thing that I think catches some people the first time playing. You know, if you ask a freshman who come to camp, you know, where the speed of the game is faster, and then when you're playing an opponent, you know, that, you know, I think you're accurate. I mean, Florida State obviously has a lot of speed at different positions. Best thing you can do is, you know, go against, you know, your best players. A lot of times are your fastest, and then you've got to be able to adjust to it in the game, and that's always, you know, I think first games are there's a lot of adjusting going on, you know, and that's going to be one of them.
At least according to the game notes, it looks like you're going with
Yeah, I thought it was a great competition, and I think Artie's earned the opportunity to start, and yet I think Gabe did a lot of good things and is continuing to improve. But right now, we felt like Artie gave us probably the best chance right now, and both of them need to continue to keep getting better. But I was certainly impressed. I thought, for me personally, Artie kind of when we were in bowl prep last year, he stuck out and had a great winter conditioning, and then I thought did some good things in the spring, and continued to carry that through the summer and fall camp. So he's earned it, and that's a good thing.
Coach, how is the status of Brandon Eichel with his ACL?
Yeah, Eif is he's getting better. We early we kind of made the determination that he wasn't quite ready, and that was a late. His injury happened late in the fall. So it's been, and I think he's truly a wonderful person and does everything. I think cares about this team as much as anyone, and so I think it was hard on him initially because everyone's fall camp's going and he wants to be a part of it, and so I think it's been like a lot of guys that get injured, frustrating, but at the same time he's done a great job. He's getting better, but we had to just kind of take a step back in fall camp and just make sure that we weren't. And that's the time when, especially when you have the 2-a-days followed by 1-a-day, another 2-a-day, we were concerned that it might do him more harm than good. So, but I think he's getting better, feeling better. So just kind of see how it keeps progressing.
Paul, James Conner took a pretty good spill in practice the other day. How was his shoulder?
Did some practice yesterday. So I think we'll just kind of keep seeing, we're going to practice today, and then we're off tomorrow. So we'll kind of see how, we did some things yesterday, see how it feels today, and kind of go day to day on James as well.
As you look ahead to this matchup, you got a pretty experienced defensive line. They've got an experienced offensive line. You're testing out some new guys on the offensive line. They're testing out some new guys at the defensive line. Is both areas, do you see that as an area where that could ultimately decide this game?
Yeah, I think it'll certainly play a big role. Kind of what we were talking about with Aaron, just line play in general. It's going to be significant, and so I think that's the starting point. If we can run the ball, if we can protect the quarterback, how our defensive line matches up against their offensive line, I think that will be a big part of the game.
Paul, are all season openers created equal? Is this game just, I know, is this like playing anybody else? Or do you acknowledge that, hey, this is not us playing,
I get you. No, I don't think they're all created equal. There's so many different factors. Who are you as a team? Obviously, who's your opponent? I think there's some key kind of factors or things that are relevant in all openers, because it is the first time that you're playing. It's taking care of the football or getting takeaways. It's penalties. It's a kicking game. Some of those things I think are common storylines in all games, but certainly each game. I think each year it's a different. Who are you as a team, and certainly with the opponent. I think they're very different. This is a unique one, I think.
Do you try to treat it though as just another week? You said that repeatedly last year, regardless of who you were playing. But this is, national TV and against the best team in this conference, or the team that's supposed to be the best. Do you acknowledge that when you guys talk about Florida State, or is it just you try to keep it?
No, I think that you can acknowledge, even last year or years previous, you talk about the things that are relevant, things that are, and those are certainly relevant storylines. But I think that every game, good football wins games, and so much of that is you have to control or work on the things and focus on the things you can control. So I think, absolutely, you talk about, the relevant things of Florida State, and have a tremendous amount of respect for who they are as a team. Obviously, not just what they did last year, but who they've got back this year. That's what matters most to our guys. But I think that you can create a consistent approach to the way you prepare. There's a lot of time spent by, and we're no different than anyone else, but our kids have spent a lot of time getting ready for this season, and you do approach each game, with gratitude, and those are special. So you don't, so that way you can approach each game similar, but each team, each week's different.
Looks like you found some depth at tight end this year. Does that make things easier for a quarterback who hasn't played a game in 3 years to go out there with more options?
We'll find out. I do feel like we certainly have some depth right now at that position. But I don't know if I can really comment. Certainly hope it does, but that's something I think that time will tell as the season goes on.
Well, you spent a lot of time talking to your team about the new helmet rule. Do you feel that some guys might have trouble adjusting to it?
Yeah, certainly, you're right, we have tried to, address it, bring it up, even when things, when we do scrimmage, where it may come in, had officials come in and talk. You'd like to think not, you hope not, but, that's something that I think is, I think it'll be interesting, and it'll be, I don't want to say an issue, but it'll be, it'll come up, I think, especially early, as people truly get a feel for it. I think everyone clearly understands why, and the players I'm talking about, and understanding it. You try to teach them and drill them in all the ways that, where they're keeping their head up, where they're making good decisions with it. But I don't know if I can really answer it. I'd like to think that we're very well prepared for it, but I don't know.
When you talk to the officials, will they have some discretion on when the opposing player, the offensive player, taps his head?
Yeah, that's more, I think, just last week we were talking about that, and that's the only thing that there certainly is, it's more of a topic in the NFL as far as the offensive player. Everyone admits there's going to be some tough calls, and it happens so fast, and that's where, we've been told over and over, and I get it, when in doubt, they're going to call it. Clearly want it out of the game. And so, and there's not one coach, there's not one player that's not for player safety. I do think, like anything, everyone's got a clear understanding of it, but it's new for players, it's new for, those officiating, and everyone, wants to get it right. And hopefully, we'll do the best we can.
Have you found examples from last year where it would have affected you guys if the rule had been in place?
We brought some up, and yeah, there was, there's a couple, I think, in every game. It wasn't necessarily our players, but in every game, we found one or two that, we went and had questions on, and probably about half of those we got a, what, I think when in doubt, I would have called it, and then, it's interesting, you take that to another official, and it's probably about the same percentage, but not necessarily the same place, so. Everyone's got the right intentions, I do believe that. And it'll be interesting how it, plays out.
Expectations for Tyler Boyd in this first game, big spotlight going on?
Yeah, I think that, I give Tyler a lot of credit, the way that he's come in, and, from day one, he's had a great approach. I think that he sees himself on a big stage, and he's certainly going to get that. But I think he's also, I've learned not to ever be surprised by Tyler, and the short time that I've been with him, and I'm anxious to see him, and really a lot of the guys will be playing for the first time. But I think he'll rise up.
I know you talked about the importance of winning the battle on the lines, but when you have such athletic linebackers like Bam Bradley and Todd Thomas and Anthony Gonzalez behind that line against a quarterback with the dual threat capabilities, what kind of roles do they have to play behind that D line, and what kind of value can they have for you?
Yeah, well, obviously, I think one of the neat things about defense is it's team defense, and those three certainly have a big role, they've got to do their job, and I think like anything, when we've got a chance to tackle, we've got to tackle well. I'm sure I'm not the only coach saying that in the country, but they need to do their job, and everyone doesn't matter now we're talking offense or defense, special teams. Everyone's got a job to do, and everyone's got to do it, and hope they do it the best of their ability.
Are you settled on those three for next Monday night? Could something still change, shift around?
I mean, right now, that's just when you get the majority of the reps, and I feel good about them. But there's also some other guys that we feel good with, and then once you get a feel for how Florida State's attacking us, But yeah, feel good about those three, and they'll certainly get the majority of the reps this week in preparation. But I like where some of the other guys are going to.
When did Bam sort of make this progression? Was he a guy you were kind of keeping an eye on heading into camp, or did he, go on last week, or when did he kind of make his turn?
No, I think that I thought he started camp and had a real good start, and then they had the family issue, missing a little bit. It took him a couple days to get back into it, but I think Bam, probably not unlike a lot of guys, is when he gets comfortable, when he understands, then he truly can go. And I think there, when he was unsure about something or something in his responsibility, he's different than once he knew it. Then like a lot of guys can kind of turn it loose a little bit more. So Bam's young. He's a freshman, but so he's continuing to grow. But I thought he started camp. Obviously I think he felt more comfortable, and so I think he started camp out well and kind of progressed that way throughout camp.
When you have a game of this magnitude, how much thought do you give to the benefits of the program in the big picture sense?
I think you have probably did more of that maybe when it was first announced or when it was in conversation. Right now this week, you have a tendency to, at least I do, have a tendency to get a little bit more narrow on the focus. But I do believe that these games like this are why guys want to come to Pittsburgh. Why guys when they think about college football, they think about these type of games. And so that part's great. I think it's a great in the right way. And we're appreciative. There's so many people really made this happen, but for Pitt to be joining the ACC in this fashion, I think it's pretty impressive.
You have Pitts and Williams and Hendricks as your three return guys. Do you have other guys you're looking at too? I mean, would you possibly rotate, or you feel like you stick with those three?
Yeah, certainly, feel real good about those three, and feel good about Ray. Ray's played a lot of football for us. I think that right now, our plan isn't necessarily a certain rotation. But I like what some of the young guys are doing behind him. But right now we don't have a specific rotation or anything.
Well, I meant kick returning.
Oh, kick returning. Yeah, we'll kind of see on that one. It depends on the flow of the game. We really do like Lafayette. I thought he did some good things for us last year. I think Jason's a good off returner for us, and K1, catch and punch. But we'll kind of see how the game goes. We got other guys.
No, I mean, do you have concern about using? It's 3 or 4 secondary starters in those roles.
No, I don't. Obviously we know. Every time guys out there, there's risk, but I don't right now.
one, do you expect Chryst to be healthy and ready to go for Florida State? And then two, just how do you feel about putting a freshman out there in that position?
Yeah, well, right now, I think Chryst will be ready to go. If not, we'll put another freshman out there. So I'm all for a freshman kicker, right? I mean, that's what it is.
Paul, what kind of progress did you see from Tom from Savage during camp in terms of mastering the offense and really getting? Do you have a better feel now for what his strengths are and what he can kind of bring to that huddle and that offense?
Yeah, I do. I think every rep that Tom got was valuable, and there's obviously understanding the schematic part of it, but I think there's also understanding the how one guy runs this route, and getting used to the receivers. And so I think that certainly it was a work in progress, but I do feel really good with the way he's progressed, and I think part of it is, I think what you alluded to is that we understand him better. We know his strengths, and can play to those. And I think that certainly Tommy hasn't played for a while. Loved his preparation, loved the way he's gone about his business, but I think that when you look at it, he'll be a guy that certainly grows throughout the year.
What is it about your system that allows guys late in his situation? He had a similar situation, even a shorter time frame with Russell, that can come in and he obviously had success immediately. Do you try to cater to those guys, or do they come in and you say, this is what we do, and I want you to do it?
I mean, I think that, coach's job is to help players play, and I love the game of football because they're the only ones between the lines. It's their game, and good coaching is preparing them and, putting them in situations that and that's where you'd like to think you're right. You're not right all the time, but where they can have success or have better chance for success. So I think you're always, your job is to adjust to your, strengths of your players, and certainly you got to keep developing guys and forcing them out of their comfort zone so they can grow. But in the end, I think our job is to make sure that we're playing to the strengths of our players, and doing the best we can. Within, you have to have structure, you have to have a system, but within that, I think that the system has to be flexible enough to play to their strengths.
Sometimes in your role, you have to amp up your guys, build up the opponent. Could you see a case Monday where you'd actually have to do the opposite?
I think it's a fair question, certainly. I think that no, I don't anticipate that. Certainly you try to get a read on your guys, and it's better this year. I know them, 1 year better than last year, but our guys, I think they, certainly, we've got some good veterans that know in betting game. This isn't the first big game that some of our guys played in now. You know what I mean? And some of the younger guys, they've got to learn it. So I think our guys will be good. They'll be fine.
With the
final, before we get to our player representatives?
With the experience of Notre Dame last year, is there anything you learned or any lessons you take from that you bring into a game like this, similar magnitude?
No, I mean, I think that you learn and you grow from all your experiences, but I don't think there's anything that certainly I'm going to take and say draw on, and we didn't win that game. You know what I mean? So,
Coach, thank you.
all right, thank you.